Hi everyone, welcome back for our lecture series on HR analytics. We were at the unit 1 and in the last two videos we discussed about basic introduction where we basically looked into what is analytics and what are its role. And then we come down to the level of HR analytics where we discussed about some of the definitions, and we also discussed about the measurements in HR, and then how the HR has matured over a period of time. So we discussed about HR maturity and the measurement, and how the HR analytics has gone in align with these two things. So that was the discussion which we had on the second part of our first unit. And now the third part, where we will be focusing more on organizational systems, and in that organizational systems, how the HR analytics can play a role. That is what the discussion which we are going to have. Let us first look at what is organizational system. I think you are already aware. Organizational system is a structure of how an organization is set up. Basically, it boils down to how the divisions have been made, how the hierarchies have been set up, what is the reporting system, and how people are communicating inside the organization. Do we have any protocols for that? Policies, procedures, flow. So these are all the things which constitutes an organizational system. Now the organizational system has to address these things. Okay. So after all, why we have an organizational system? That should address how this organizational system will improve business processes. Okay, so bank, they have got certain organizational system that will help a bank to operate its business in a better way. So the ultimate aim of an organizational system is to improve the business processes. Focus on minimizing unnecessary costs. So whatever the unnecessary cost which is involved in operating your business, that has to be reduced. Of course, reducing the waste. So some system in the manufacturing system should able to focus on how effectively I can able to reduce the waste which is happening. Improve inefficient procedures which are unnecessary, which are not really focusing on adding value to my customers. So these things has to be reduced. React faster to change together. That is very important. I think the pestle factors, which is the macro factors, are predominantly affecting the businesses. So your organizational system should be in align with whatever the challenges that the macro environment is throwing on us. So that should be the case where you need to react faster for the change which is happening in the market, which is happening in the environment. Collaboration through technology. Yeah, I think running an organization, management, and the company without the adoption of technology is like you cannot able to imagine such a scenario. So technology adoption, adopting the automation sort of a thing, and adopting internet, computers, and ERP systems. So all these things have been a part of the running the organization. So the collaboration with the technology has become very important. Then new generation, new values. Of course, not only India, majority of the fast-growing economies in the world are facing a population, or they are managing a population which is the youngest population. No, they all belongs to the next generation people. So now we need to develop such a values where The organization should hold such values which can appreciate and encourage these younger generation. So your organization system has to support that. So the younger generation is more of rational, is more of a social media Greeks. So these things has to be understood, and then accordingly the organizational system has to be set up. Now, organization systems are moving towards what? Because, as I said, the environment is changing. Your people who are going to work for your organization, their values are different. There are a lot of technology upgradation which is happening, which is moving an organization to such a situation that it has to anticipate to this change. If this is the case, then the organization systems are undergoing a major change. So, what are those changes? The first one is the organization systems where there is an adoption of flat structure. There are no multiple hierarchies because that blocks the communication, that blocks the idea generation, that blocks the method of whistleblowing the inside the organization. So, for a better communication, for better innovation, for better interaction, nowadays companies are moving towards flat structure and then removing designations. You remember there are so many designations are there when we follow a vertical hierarchical system. So now all those designations are becoming vanishing from the organization, where it is more of a value driven value driven organization. Okay, and the leaner process and structure. So you no need to follow too much of procedure, where you no need to take too much of approvals in this process. So make the quick process which is happening so that the organization can be get benefited. Then decentralizing the authority. Yeah, delegation of authority has become a very important angle when you look into recent organizations. Particularly the traditional organization have got a lot of issue in decentralizing the authority because they have been practicing this kind of a management for a quite long time. This change is a must because the younger one has to be empowered to take necessary decisions, so that they can do a business in a much better way. So decentralization has become a key, and being agile. This is very important. You cannot stick to one methodology and then say my environment has to adopt for this. Those days have gone. So you need to adopt such a methodology which says, okay, which can customize to the requirement, which can customize to the need, which can customize to the upcoming trend which is happening. So that agile methodology has becoming very important. If you look at all this, say the environment is changing, technology is changing, the demographics are changing, the people who are going to work for your organization is changing. Now, for that, we said we are going to follow this like flat structure, no designation, leaner process, decentralizing the authority, and then not sticking to an orthodox procedure but follow a agile methodology. But looking into all this, one of the major core area where we are addressing all this is the customer value. So we are doing all these things just to do this, that is adding value to my customer. That has become a center stage for doing a business. Don't we People have not really care what really your procedure is. They don't care what designation you have. They don't care what process that you follow. What really a customer care is, am I going to get benefit out of this? Is the product or the service which I am getting, is that worth to a value which I am paying? So if that is added, the entire purpose of this will will be answered. So if you look at all this, the lean organization system has become very relevant. Okay, I'll come to the what is the role of analytics into this, because that is the relationship which we need to establish. As I said earlier, the one of the more core aspect of doing all this is the customer value, and that is the one of the major goal of a lean organization. While lean thinking can greatly improve the productivity and function of a team or a department, lean implementation that spread across the entire organization has have the greatest impact on customer. So the leaner your process is, the leaner the organization that you follow, the better the customer value you can able to transfer. So when you have a lean system, you can reach out to your subordinate in processing your customer application. You can make the process really quick so that the customer can get benefited. So that's what the lean organization system will do. A lean system can provide business with a discipline and focus they need to satisfy their customer needs. So, as I said earlier, the main focus is to add value to customer. Okay, it has got two fundamental principles. The lean organizational system. First, eliminate anything that does not add value to a customer. Say you have some procedure which you are following for quite a long time, not really knowing the purpose of that procedure. Check that procedure whether because of this procedure is my customer, am I adding a value to my customer? If the answer is no, then you can really eliminate that particular procedure. Okay, and work systematically and continuously to create more value for customer. So the main purpose is to add value to a customer, as I said earlier. The HR challenge in the system. Now, the organizations are becoming flat. Organizations are adopting technology. They become agile because the environment is changing. And now the focus is more of creating value to a customer. If this is the situation, then the challenge that the HR is going to face is build capabilities who can able to adopt to these kind of a system and then add value to my customer. So if a human resource inside the organization doesn't build the capability which can add value to my customer, then it is the biggest challenge. Now the HR has to build this capability. Second, increase their capacity. Normally when we say you have to reduce the cost, obviously that is in proportionate to how best they can scale up to the capacity which they are already have. So higher the capacity with the same resources, you are able to extract the things, so that reduces the cost. Intensify the engagement. This is very important. How best you can make your employees to engage with your organization both mentally, physically and emotionally, so that they can able to give something for the organization. They can stay for a long time. They can be more productive. That's the biggest challenge. As I said, one of the main challenge that we have is we have a next generation people who are coming for work, and you need to see how these next generation people has to be engaged, because they are exposed to a totally a different environment. Okay, develop deeper connection between purpose and meaning. So, what is that we are with the organization, the mission, the purpose of existence? That has to be communicated, and make sure that each of the member inside the organization should be believing in that purpose of existence. That's one of the major challenge which we have. And of course, the other challenges are building the transformation team, designing a new organization structure. As I said, there will be a flat structure which is coming up. There are some metrics structures which are coming up. Nowadays, most of the organizations are forced to handle teams virtually. Now, the definition of an organization structure will also change. Now your traditional organization structure may not able to handle these virtual teams. Okay, so that has to be relooked. Communication and mentoring the people pulse is another aspect. Now we are forced to be in a situation where we don't see and interact physically with any of them, any of the employees. Now, most of the IT companies are operating virtually, and then here there is a lot of amount of stress with the people in engaging themselves in the work as well as their personal life. That has to be looked at. Integrating lean management into a talent system. So that is the another important challenge which we have. Strengthening lean leadership. So, how far the leadership is ready in order to adopt and then lead an organization with the lean structure. Valuing HR analytics in organizational system. This is the connection. Now, one end we are proposing, or the environment is forcing us to move towards lean structure. Now there is an HR which has adopted the analytics, so that they want to be like a strategic partner with the organization. So now these two things will come in. Now how the HR analytics is going to add value in the organizational system, that has to be looked at. Better HR decisions, the data driven and powered by tools. Now, no more an abstract thinking and some theoretical approach that we are going to adopt, because the younger generation, the agile, and these factors will forcing HR to adopt a data-based decision system. Okay, and you will be having a quality hire, talent acquisition, where it has to be driven by again a lot of these background checks, and the way in which you do background checks will also be changed. Now all the candidates with their social media presence, with their professional network presence, will really impact the hiring decisions. And then improving employee experience. So we were talking about the customer experience for a long time. Now there is a time where now we should also see that how an employee is experiencing his professional life inside the organization. That has to be looked at, and to improve that, you cannot have an hypothetical theory which should say, okay, you give this, probably they'll feel a better experience. It should not be the case. It should be again a data driven. It should be again analytics driven. And of course, the training and evaluation methods should have a to and from communication from the employee and the HR department and the line manager, so that we can able to assess the gaps in a much scientific way, and then design a training tool which can able to fill this gap. And then rethinking financial compensation, more scientific way of fixing the compensation, stabilize the retention. This is another, I think this is in proportionate with what we discussed on engagement. And then taking greater advantage of machine learning. This is very important. The way in which people have interacted with the machines inside the organization. Can we able to get the data from these machines and then understand the human behavior? Can we able to do that? No, that will be more scientific inputs than taking an abstract input from a line authorities. And then unified employee effort support, and then employee engagement and retention. This I've already talked about. So these are all how the HR analytics role has changed, because the organizations are getting changed, because of the environment which is changing based on the needs, based on the new happenings in the market. So that's how the HR analytics is taking a new version, is making its efforts to make sure that it can adopt new methodology to support lean organizations. There are some typical problems which HR can face in this regard. Bringing together data from many different places. This I'll come when we are going to discuss on the data part. But for this time, you can just understand, if we are collecting data from different sources, that collection of data and putting data together is a biggest challenge. And lack of data analytics skills within HR. This has become a recent subject, recent practice which the companies are wish to adopt. So it takes some time for an HR professionals to adopt this. And then, of course, the IT resources which can support this analytics. And majority of the thing is, since this entire process will be according to the data which is available, which is gathered from the various sources. Of course, data security has become a major challenge. And in the entire process, there is a scare that the human can be out of human resource. That means we started, there is a scare that we may start treating the employees as just the resource. There is a scare that the human will be taken out of human resource. Then the human resource will become just a resource, because you talk about only the data part, and then you talk about only efficiency, effectiveness. So there is a critic, or there is a challenge that no, the human element will be taken out from human resource. So that's one of the challenge. So this is what it is. Here we basically discussed about the organizational system, how the organizational systems are changing, how organization is moving towards lean organizational system, and what is the role of HR analytics in this lean organizational system, and then few challenges which we have discussed. So by this we are concluding the first unit in HR analytics. Thank you.